Hey, it is your favorite remote work enthusiast, Delilah. I am back with my latest video installment to the Arise playlist series that I've been doing over the course of this past year. In that series, if you haven't checked it out, it'll be linked up here in the corner. I talk all about Arise, all the ins and outs that you need to know before you even go forward with Arise, how to get through certification, the truth, all that good stuff. I talk about it. And this video is answering the questions that I see most frequently in the comment section of those videos. So I'm gonna address those questions and basically tie up some loose ends when it comes to some of the things that we've already sort of talked about, and just making sure that we're all clear on the ins and outs of Rise. So that's what this video is going to be all about. And of course, I've got my visual aid because I will get off topic without it. So we are going to go ahead and jump into that. But before we do, if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And make sure you tap the notification bell so that you can stay up to date on the latest work from home opportunities. I post weekly work from home hot leads for companies that are hiring, as well as work from home information just like this video and all the other videos in that playlist that I know you will find valuable. Okay, let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so we are looking at our presentation here, and I just want to note before jumping in, I am going to give you my 2 cents and my honest 100% opinion when it comes to answering these questions. Just like in my Arise pros and cons video where I tell you the truth, this is the truth for me, and this is what I think and how I feel. But by no means am I saying these things to deter anybody from moving forward with Arise if that's what you want to do. We will have a difference in opinions, but these are my personal opinions, and I can't present this information in any other way. Otherwise, it would just be me rehashing stuff that you can find anywhere else. So that is something I want to get out the way before we go ahead and take this deep dive, because I will be keeping it 100% real when I answer these questions. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so the very first question that I'm going to address is probably the most common question about Arise, and that question is Arise legit? And I think we are beyond this question at this point. There are so many YouTube reviews, there's Glassdoor reviews, there's the videos on my channel. I actually serviced with Arise and I did get paid. We are beyond the point of asking, is Arise legit? Yes, Arise is legit. However, not all the IBOs are legit. And one of the common questions that I get is, Delilah, what do I do? Because my IBO did X, Y, and Z, and it's a shame, but there's a lot of bad IBOs out there. So I'm going to talk more about this in a few more slides, but we'll just put a pin in this. So to recap, yes, Arise is legit, but not all IBOs. And we will talk about that more in a little bit. Okay, so the next common question that I get is, how much do you get paid at Arise? And Arise pays anywhere from around $8 per hour to $13.50 per hour. And the way it works is you schedule yourself in intervals of 30 minutes. So each interval is 30 minutes. That's why when you look at the client overview, you'll see the pay per interval, and then you'll see like the hourly rate. And if we were going with $8 per hour, that would mean that you get paid $4 per interval. And then if you worked 2 intervals or an hour, that would be $8 per hour. So the pay can be kind of low. You know, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. The pay can be really low. And then it can get decent, but it never really gets too much higher than $13.50 per hour. Now, another thing that I want to mention, and I have a video all about the client, like choosing a client and actually getting through certification. But one thing that I want to mention when it comes to pay is whenever you are choosing a certification class, you always want to make sure that you are okay with the price for certification and what you're going to be paid per interval or hour, and the two aren't related. So just because you pay for a more expensive certification class does not mean that you're also going to be paid more per hour. And we see on Arise different certification classes ranging from $10 to sign up all the way up to like the hundreds of dollars. And just today when I was looking, there were ones up to like $199. And I think I've heard people say that there are some certification classes that are more, but just because they are more doesn't mean you get paid more. So here's a few examples that I pulled from the site as recently as today. And an example was if you wanted to be a French bilingual a vacation agent, then the client certification class would cost $29 and the pay would be $13.50 per hour. And that was the highest one that they had on there. If you were to become a bookstore agent for like a big bookstore, then that pay would be $8 per hour. And the certification class is $69. And then for a tax tech support client, that certification class was $99 and they were paying $11.50 per hour. So I really couldn't see any type of correlation between how much you pay for certification and how much you get paid per hour. And I say all that to say, just because a class is going to cost more doesn't mean it might be better or a better opportunity pay-wise or just client-wise. You know, keep that in mind. So that's the pay. It can be very low, but again, you already know that going into it. So it's just all about what you're okay with. So naturally, the next question you would have after learning about how much you get paid would be, is it worth it? And before we can actually get a good answer to that question, we need to evaluate some of the different costs involved with Arise that I have on the screen right here. So you're going to have to be work from home ready. That means you're going to need to have your desktop. You might need to have dual monitors. You have to have a wired keyboard and mouse, no wireless, they say. You might have to get a new headset, USB cables, a phone, and any other things that it would take for you to service your client. And a lot of us already have some of these items, but we'd have to go get a few more. I know when I did my client certification, I had to go get another headset and phone. And then they said, oh, actually, it's going to be on like a internet dialer, but the overview did say that you needed a phone. So I actually bought a phone thinking that I needed it, and then it turned out I didn't. But there's always going to be something that you have to go get. And then I also had to get like a new USB port drive so that I could have my ASD on there. So just keep in mind, there's the startup cost with getting your home office ready. Then there's also a new fee for getting on the platform. That fee is $9.99. Now, if you're already registered on Arise, you don't have to pay this fee. But if you have never registered with Arise, you'll now have to pay $9.99 just to look, okay? We're not talking about signing up to certify with anyone. We're talking about just to look at the opportunities. It is $10. And this is for them to do like a background check or something. And then the next fee that you have to consider is the actual client certification class fee. And I know that some people say that there's ones that are more than $199. I just personally haven't seen those, but I'm sure they're there. I'm not saying that they don't exist, but from what I saw on the platform as of today and in past visits to the platform, I've seen opportunities that you can sign up for anywhere from $10 to $199. Now, I gotta say, I'm not paying anything over $50 for a certification class. I think $50 is actually pretty steep considering the fact that you're trying to make money and you're paying to be able to do that. Now, I understand there are costs associated with getting up and running, and I understand that. But anything over $50, I just would be very not open to it, just because it is quite a bit of money just to learn something that you may not be able to actually do. Because even when you sign up and pay for certification, that doesn't guarantee that you'll certify. And so many people, as I mentioned in my client certification video, don't actually make it through. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So just know, even when you pay the $199 all the way down to the $10, you still have the same amount of risk, and there are no guarantees with Arise, okay? So then the next fee is the Arise platform fee, and this is per paycheck. So you're gonna have to pay $19.95 every single time you get paid, and this goes to maintaining the Arise platform. And then you've got your IBO fee. Now, most IBO fees are anywhere from $10 to $50 per paycheck. And a lot of IBOs tend to stick in that $10 to $20 range, just because any more than that, you really won't have too many people lining up to service under your IBO. So it can be up to the 50s, but most IBOs don't charge more than like 20, 25. But even then, that's kind of steep, especially since you have all those other fees. And not to forget, last but certainly not least, is you have to factor in your taxes. Arise isn't going to take out taxes on you because you're a 1099 contractor. It's on you to make sure that you take out your taxes. Okay, so just because you've paid all that money for certification, you paid Arise, you paid your IBO, you paid for the startup fees and whatnot, does not omit you from paying taxes. So you got to consider all of that when it comes to choosing an opportunity or even deciding you want to work with Arise. Now, you're probably wondering, do I think it's worth it? And to be honest, it's only worth it in certain situations. And all of those certain situations involve you not being hard up for money. So if making money isn't something that you have to do, meaning you might be a stay-at-home parent and your spouse or whomever has an income that covers your bills, or you're retired and you just want something to do, or maybe you're a student and this is for extra money, okay? In those situations, you're not hard up for it. It's like, okay, if I make some money, that's great. But if I don't make, a lot of money, then things will still be okay. That's the only time that I would be okay with it and think it's worth it, because you can do it from home, but again, the pay is so low and you got to pay a lot of money out. I'd only do it in those situations. That's just my opinion on it. So another frequently asked question that I get is, Delilah, why is Arise so popular? And there's kind of two answers to this that I will give. The first answer has multifacets to it, which we are looking at right now. And the other answer that I will give will be on another screen that we'll get to in just a second. But here is what I think to be the answer for this. It's because they do a lot of marketing, and a lot of people have found Arise through their daytime television spots. They've been on The Real a couple of times, and
it reached a lot of people who would be interested in Arise. So their marketing is on point when it comes to finding their demographic that they're looking for. The reel comes on in the early afternoon. People who are watching it usually are at home. That would speak to someone who probably wants to continue being at home during that time. So they have been able to reach people in the best way, to where they can find who would really be a good fit for that platform. And then they also are very aggressive with advertising. If you go to Google and you type in easy work from home or work from home job or any variation of that, Arise is going to be like the very first, if not the first few results. And you can see that they pay for ad spots on Google. So when many people are first beginning their work from home journeys, they are going to places like Google and typing in work from home job, and who pops up first? Arise. And that is why they are so popular, because they are, again, doing a really good job of getting in front of their target demographic. Another reason why Arise is popular is because of the recruiting that IBOs do. A lot of IBOs will go to career fairs, they will go out in the community, or they'll post all over their social media all the time about, hey, you want to work from home, ask me how. And then that's when they get people brought into the Arise platform. And then there are people like you and me who are searching for it and talking about it. So Arise is popular because we've made them popular, and they've also done a really good job of marketing and advertising to the people who would be their target demographic. Now, the second part to my answer as to why I think Arise is so popular is because I truly believe or know that people don't really know what it takes to get hired. And Arise will just take you as long as you're willing to pay. And I know this because my career in online human resources, I help connect businesses that have a remote workforce with talent. And I handle everything from creating the job lead to doing the interviewing, choosing the candidates, and so on. And I can tell you from looking at many resumes and cover letters and holding many interviews that it is a challenge for a lot of people. And I think because Arise puts the power back into your hands, as long as you have the money, it makes people feel more in control, and therefore they like it a little bit better than if they were to apply to a job and have to wait to hear back from the hiring manager. So I think Arise is very popular for all of those reasons that I mentioned in the previous slide, but as well as these reasons. So many people have never learned how to make a resume or a cover letter, or how to interview properly, or fill out an application properly, let alone how to do those things properly for the online work world. That's something completely different. There's a lot of similarities, but you have to make sure that you're optimizing yourself for online success. And that's why I'm actually creating my next set of courses geared around these topics. So my latest courses that are actually coming out, the newest ones, are all about writing remote resumes and remote cover letters. And if you are interested in more information on that, when that product actually comes out, it's going to be in the form of a digital course, then you can click on the link in the description box below and you can get on the mailing list for that, and I'll let you know when all of that stuff is ready. But back to the question, it really just boils down to Arise is easier versus going the more traditional route of having to submit a resume and all the other stuff that comes with applying for a job. they just prefer to pay the money and then they can start. So that is why I think Arise is really popular, and other platforms that are similar to it. There isn't as many steps to it, and I think that makes people a little bit more comfortable with it. Okay, so I know we put a pin in this topic, but I want to circle back to IBOs because I wanted to wait until the end where I could kind of group my IBO questions together. And one of the unfortunate frequently asked questions that I receive is, what do I do if my IBO doesn't pay me? And this is so bad. This is terrible that I honestly can't believe anyone would ever go through the trouble of becoming their own business, registering for the platform, going through the trouble of recruiting someone, all to scam them. Like, that's so low. Like, it's ridiculous. But people do it. And according to Arise, they don't want anything to do with it. They have nothing to do with it because it is a 1099 contractor opportunity, and you came in with a partner, your IBO. You're supposed to report to them because they've got your money. Arise doesn't have it. And they just don't want any parts in your problems. They've got nothing to do with it. And you're supposed to report to your IBO. But that's the problem. Your IBO has basically ghosted you. They're not answering your calls, or they're not returning your emails, your texts, nothing. They're just out of sight. And if that does happen, Arise does suggest reporting them to the Better Business Bureau. You can report them, and if enough people report them, you can actually get their business shut down. But another route, which I would do in addition to reporting them to the Better Business Bureau, is take things a little public on social media and basically embarrass them. Now, I'm not saying just all out drag them because that can actually be, bad on you, but I would just go to their social media and in a public comment ask, hey, is someone going to get in touch with me? I haven't gotten paid yet. Payday was such and such, and today is such and such. That is embarrassing enough because anybody who's looking to get on as a CSP with them will see that, and that will deter them from going down the same route you did, and you're actually helping people. It's no different than if you were to go to Google or Yelp and check out the reviews of a company. Everybody's always looking for social proof and what other people have to say about something. And you're actually doing people a favor by letting them know that, hey, if you service under this IBO, they're not going to pay you. So that's what I mean by embarrass them. Go to their social media, try and get in touch with them in a more public way. And then if they still don't, respond or anything, then the best thing to do is just move on. And, you'll just make that money another time. And I know it's unfortunate because you did all that work, but that's sometimes how it goes. And you could go to a different IBO, and you could continue servicing that client under another IBO, but that IBO probably isn't going to get in touch with you if that doesn't work. So that's what I mean by embarrass them. But of course, always do your due diligence. Make sure that you give them plenty of time to reach out to you before you do take that step, because you just don't want to jump the gun and it turns out maybe somebody had an emergency and like they were away from their phone or something. So definitely, like, if it's been a week and you haven't gotten paid and no one has returned any kind of call, that's when I would start taking those next steps to getting in touch with them. Last but certainly not least is a question that I get, and that is, can I service under your IBO? And the answer to that is, I don't currently service with Arise, and I don't recruit for my IBO, and I actually don't like the business model. So in my Arise pros and cons, the truth video, I really do kind of go there and say like how I feel about it. And I do hold myself back because I don't want to discourage anybody from moving forward with Arise, and especially if you want to be an IBO. But for me personally, I don't like the business model. I don't like how Arise does business and how it works when you are an IBO. It's something that I understand is very lucrative for them, but for me, it's not something that I want to put my time and energy into. I already have another business that takes up all of my time and energy, in addition to my YouTube channel and all the other things that I do. So it's not something that I'm interested in. And as far as like, why don't you like the business model? Because it really isn't worth the work to me. What you end up earning for all the work that you do isn't worth it. The upside isn't up enough for me. So like when you are recruiting for your IBO, sometimes you might go to career fairs, you might do it online, you might have a shirt or something on your car. You're basically, crossing off all of the different ways that you could get people to know about the fact that you have an IBO. And then once you do get some interested people, you basically have to, nurture that relationship to where they would even be okay with moving forward. And then they also have to be okay with the pay. They have to be okay with staying at home and working because it's not for everybody. They have to be okay with the type of work, which really isn't for everybody. And they'd have to be work from home ready. They'd have to have their setup and everything. So by the time you get to that point, you are looking for a unicorn, okay? At least in my opinion, because there's a lot of interest about Arise, but there's not as many people who actually are serious and are going to go forward. And there are quite a few, but for me, it's not something that I'm interested in doing because now they're actually at the point where they need to pay for certification. And at this point, it really weeds out a lot of people because they have to be okay with paying to potentially get paid. A lot of people aren't okay with that. And especially if they are looking to get a job, they might not have that money to pay. And as an IBO, you never ever pay for someone's certification. If you all want more information about becoming an IBO and all of that, I can make that video, but just know you don't pay for the certification. You have to find someone who has the money to do that. And then they have to actually pass the certification. And then once they pass the certification, they got to get through nesting. And by this point, it's probably been around 3 to 4 months when you first met that person. And they are now finally servicing. And you know how much you're going to make? Whatever you charge as your IBO fee. It's a lot of hand holding. It's a lot of like getting them to that finish line. And then the thing about the fact that they can just say, well, I don't want to do this anymore, or I'm going to go start my own IBO and leave. That just makes it frustrating. And there really isn't much predictability or much predictability for me. And how much you get paid really doesn't start getting good until you've got a lot of people on your roster. So that's just something that I'm not interested in. And it's just something that to me wouldn't be a good use of my personal time. But okay, there's people who do it, they love it, they're great at it, they make a ton of money with it, and it's the best thing that they've ever gotten into. And round of applause for those people, but it's not something that I'm personally interested in. So that is the long-winded answer to why I don't recruit for my IBO and why I don't service and why I probably never will.
Okay, so there you have it. Those are the frequently asked questions that I see in the comment sections of my videos. And hopefully I've answered those questions that you have and kind of tied up those loose ends. But if you still have questions that remain, feel free to put them in the comments section below. And then if you are interested in becoming an IBO, let me know in the comments below. A couple months back, I put out a survey on my YouTube channel for, to figure out if people are interested in becoming an IBO. And mostly everybody said that they wanted to be a CSP. So I didn't bother making a video about becoming an IBO. But if there are enough people who are interested in becoming an IBO, I don't mind making that video. I just want to make sure that you all watch it. So let me know, and if there's enough people, then I will create that video. So share this video on your social media. People are always looking for information about Arise, and I know this will answer a lot of questions that people have. And then hopefully this was helpful for you, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.
Hey, before you go, make sure you check the description box below for a link to my free 10-page ebook. It is a complete checklist for all of the work from home equipment that you may need to get started in your very own opportunity. Talk soon.